The year of our Lord 2025 has been a wild year. The general public is financing their Chipotle. RAM exploded in price. Streamers figured out how to make the entire world a GTA lobby. Honestly, its ending can't come soon enough. This year was pretty trash, I'm not gonna lie. So what better way to end it off than by spending time with one of my favorite and they graduated. Damn, VTubing kinda sucks this year. With it drawing to a close and giving us that god-awful streamer awards giving best VTuber to somebody who doesn't even identify with being a VTuber, it really makes you think about where we are in the landscape as a whole. Just eons ago, you would have to wear a whole bodysuit needing an entire motion capture studio just to play a video game and watch other people's videos. That was up until this goober came along and decided that what if we just took the 2D and gave it jiggle? And thus, my favorite internet hag was born. But now you can take pretty much anything, slap your voice over it, and now you're a VTuber. Even if it's just a Snapchat filter and still get hundreds of thousands of views. Now, that's not a knock on the VTuber space because that is a good thing. If all it took for you to be seen was 40 bucks in a PNG, good. One of the main issues is that it was basically only open to like 5 people at the time. Which is why you could get away with having nothing but a single tag and just going from there. But now, you need to provide a whole lot more. Since anyone can look like whatever they want and not have to worry about bad charisma spawn RNG, the only thing you could rely on was raw talent.
I'll wiggle my hog for you!
Looking pretty no longer means anything if everyone does. Gee, I wonder why they're such a threat.
Get over it, whore. My woman's a criminal.
Since the beginning of the year, one thing I've noticed from a lot more of the crowd is that they insist on recognition for people that they know wouldn't like them otherwise. Like, just stop, this is not a winning battle. You cannot expect acceptance from people who wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire. You saw what happened with that Blue Archive collab. That should tell you enough about what the average person would think of Oshi. I'm not gonna try and gaslight because things like the Streamer Awards do matter. We accept them as LA circle jerks because the events advertised as fan voted always seem to have fan votes matter the least. So why does it matter that Burnt Peanut won it all? Because he doesn't identify with being a VTuber at all. Those are literally his own words. Do you really want your community to be represented by someone you had to force the tag onto? People just like having their opinions validated, but the people you're asking that recognition from are not the ones you want. For some reason, VTubers are all 40-year-old men balding in some dude's basement, but simultaneously not female enough to be put on the female chart. Which in hindsight was a really missed opportunity. Cause I mean, I'm not even gonna lie, that would have been the funniest shit ever. But just take a look at it for 10 seconds, you're deliberately collecting these stats but then excluding people from both categories. Like, I can't be the only one that doesn't look at that and think like, why did these need to be separated? That's a little weird. Why did you make this decision? It's a direct call to the optics and how we see the cartoon people. They blatantly have the viewership but can't get any of the recognition because it's way too fringe. It's not normal. Because it always feels like whenever one of them does well, it will be acknowledged, but it always has to come with like a sly jab or two. The point of VTubing hasn't changed much from how it originally started. Pick a character based off of what you identify with the most and just be that. This includes anyone and anything even outside of the anime space. And it's that realization that really needs to be made. It includes everyone, including the ones that would find anime cringe. The ones that would have bullied you for thinking gunsmith cats kinda look cool. Though it's pretty much a 99-to-1 ratio on people who fucks with the anime vibe here, some of us would rather be murder clowns or reacting to police body cams as some rendition of Wukong. It's less about what you choose and more about how it aids you. Since you can actively choose how to represent yourself, it acts as a way bigger window into how this person might be. It's basically just a 2-second vibe check. But in a way, it ends up being this sort of double-edged sword, because of everything you could have chosen to represent yourself as, you decided to be this weird demon succubus thing moaning into a mic over the internet. A lot of y'all ain't really all that right in the head, so they'll never really be seen in the same normal average light as regular people until one pops up into the scene that's considered to be brand safe. But I don't mean normal brand safe, I mean like the extra mile, like you could walk into a bookstore and somebody can point at them and say, wow, I know that person, or a soccer mom would put her in the back of a minivan as a bumper sticker. Unironically, the closest ones to doing something like that are ones like Burnt Peanut, but keep in mind, that's only because in America, anything considered to be anywhere near anime is just way too cringe. But the real reason there was any sort of a visceral reaction is because he isn't really one of those that should be winning that sort of an award, which in hindsight seems weird as hell. Like, how can he not be? Ones like Iron Mouse can't say it because there isn't any way that can be taken apart from snarky or salty that he just won the award, because let's just be real, if she had said something like that, it would have easily been taken out of context and clipped, and then suddenly, you know, Yeet account is saying balding 40-year-old man is just hating on burnt peanut. But we know he's not because he doesn't exist anywhere near the same spaces. It's the difference between defined versus in spirit. Like, somebody who plays Candy Crush twice is a gamer, but nowhere near in the same way as somebody who played something like Elden Ring. And I think by not acknowledging that, you are being a bit disingenuous. So it doesn't really surprise me that a lot of the bigger ones didn't even bother commenting on it, even if they did feel that way, because there isn't any way that you can phrase something like that where you actually come out ahead. So all that being said, where exactly are we going with this? So, the VTubing space as a whole is expected to grow, just with far less people into the traditional sort of anime. Let me explain. Like it or not, by this point we've pretty much already hit a market saturation point. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody who's into anime and the Japanese sort of stylization who didn't already know what a VTuber is. Anybody not watching one of those likely was never going to watch them to begin with, maybe because they're just not into live streams is what it is. So realistically, the only people left to expand to are going to be ones who are more into that cartoony style, like somebody like Burnt Peanut. I myself even decided to move more towards like this cartoony 3D over like the Japanese traditional live 2D, but I'm not really gonna lie, I do enjoy looking like this a little more. But that's because I do have a bias in favor of the 3D, I do think it's kinda cool. But for most people, I don't think they really care how it's presented so long as they vibe with whatever's there. I'm definitely more in favor of removing anything that could be considered a barrier to entry, especially considering what this sort of hobby is. It's meant to be open to anyone, meaning it's also going to be open to people who don't really vibe with that sort of anime aesthetic, and that's okay. The one person you can't really fight is the viewer, and if they decide collectively that they would just much rather watch somebody like Burnt Peanut, then it is what it is. Do not fight, just go roll with the punches. But it really makes you think how much of our current perception of the space was driven by a lot of the organizations that existed at the top. Did they do that only because it set them apart from everybody else? Did they do that only because that was genuinely what was the most popular? Because one thing we do need to keep in mind is that a lot of what these corporations do don't actually represent what the average person would be willing to watch. Which seems weird to say because it is an audience-driven sort of medium, but the actual success stories that can tell you what works are actually going to be what works within the indie space, because you have to keep in mind a lot of the corporatized ones have to be completely sanitized just to make sponsors happy, even if it comes at the cost of the people watching. Now, in a way, it might seem weird why I decided to touch this sort of a topic without even mentioning corporations at all. That was very much intentional, because what's going on in the corporate space is actually a lot deeper than you might think. And honestly, for the purposes of what I'm trying to bring to you today, I don't think I could fit that in and then do it justice in the way I would have wanted. So I'm definitely going to have to save that for another day. But the year has changed, it is now 2026, and I do want to thank you guys for all the support you've been giving me throughout this entire year. It seems stupid, but it really does mean a lot, okay? But if this is your first time here, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that dumb stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.